I didn't think we'd get here, but here we are. I'm talking about this again. Homer's Odyssey is a weird episode, and I don't think enough of you appreciate just how weird it is. I posted my last video on the subject and got delightful comments, such as, I didn't know this episode was not liked, etc., which threw me into an existential crisis of, hey, did I imagine this? Did I make this up? And then I remember and I go, nah, of course you didn't, Chris. You didn't make up Homer breaking his son's piggy bank for beer money, writing a suicide note and attaching a rope and a rock to himself and walking down the lonely road to suicide, accompanied by heckling? Nah, of course you didn't make that up. The Simpsons writers made that up. You're good. You can take off the straitjacket. Now, without further delay, let me take up your time with my incoherent ramblings about a cartoon episode that aired 33 years ago. Now, I may be retreading some familiar dialogue because, hey, I'm talking about the same thing, so if you feel like you've heard any of this before, be grateful. It's quality content. For those of you unfamiliar with Homer's Odyssey, let me get you up to speed. Homer is fired from his job. This causes Homer to fall into a depression, which results in him attempting suicide. However, a last-minute ditch to save his family saves Homer's life in the process. Homer notices that his family needed saving due to the lack of proper safety protocols within the area. Homer then decides to dedicate himself to getting a stop sign installed. This escalates to Homer soon becoming Springfield's face of safety, and seeks to take down the very plant in which he once worked. As you may have guessed, I have one or two thoughts on this particular episode, not necessarily thoughts against its subject matter. I'm not gatekeeping the big sad, not in any way. It's just the way in which they executed the big sad leaves a lot to be desired. I mean, personally, I would consider myself oh so lucky if when confronted by my loved ones right as I was milliseconds away from going up the big escalator into the sky, that the manner in which I would be greeted could be acquainted to a wife being slightly surprised that her husband has eaten the last of the biscuits. Oh, Homer! How could you try to kill yourself? Oh, Homer, how could you forget to frost the chicken? Oh, Homer! You get what I'm saying, I just feel the emotion lacks. Listen, I know what you must be thinking right now. What's the point? I've stated in 2 videos already that this is a weird episode, a weird time, and to answer your question, it's because I'm not over it yet. This episode does not flip its themes and tonality every 2 minutes for me to go ahead and move on to talking about why Seymour Skinner is the show's funniest character. I just want to give a brief overview of this episode. Homer gets fired in front of his son. Homer feeling sad. Homer then gets up for a beer and can't find one. Homer then smashes his son's piggy bank, is immediately overcome with guilt, writes a suicide note, straps a rock to himself, and makes his way towards a bridge to commit self. Any idea where we went 0 to 100 here? But don't worry, as I already mentioned, they do their best to lighten the mood by having Homer's neighbours make a good bit of humour out of Homer going to commit suicide. They don't even play it as if they think he's joking. They fully state that they are 100% aware of what Homer intends to do and then make a joke about it, and laugh. This is our comedic counterbalance to this! But some of you may be saying, Chris, why are you focusing on this so much? There's only a bit of the episode. Yeah, it's like half. The middle half, with bookends either side, so it seems like less. I'm sorry, but having Homer's family come in, preventing the act, and Homer deciding that he is going to dedicate himself to getting a stop sign put by a bridge, and the writers using it as a way for Homer to seek and find purpose within himself for others, would be okay if it was a smoother transition and was given time to develop. But no. Homer goes in and goes, oh, wait, no dead yet. Family about to die, get hit by car. Homer save family. Oh, now that that's done, and now that I think about it, there should really be a fucking stop sign here. Let me just casually, instantly forget everything about my emotional state and what I was doing 45 seconds ago, and dedicate the last 6 minutes of this episode to me having a hard-on for safety. You put this episode in any other season, it doesn't work. Can you imagine putting it in the scheduling order? Ah, yeah, Matt. Just finalising the order for season 2. Where do you want the Homer tries a suicide episode? You want it after the one where he thinks he's got 24 hours to live? Hey, we're doing the scheduling order for season 3. You want Homer's Odyssey after the episode where Bart's stuck down a well and cries? Season 4. You want it after the one where Homer has a heart attack? Okay, I get it. The show goes heavy sometimes. But my point is that in those episodes, the emotion is done well. Homer goes to make peace with his loved ones, and the matter is treated with respect. Bart cries, and Homer's emotional reflex-like response saves the day. Homer has a heart attack, and the episode fully commits to treating it as if there is a real possibility that Homer won't make it. In Homer's Odyssey, the emotion is near void, and the emotions used are completely unexpected choices. The episode's darkest moment is accompanied by heckling and the family response equating to a slightly disheartened "what are you like?" And then the episode moves on so quickly that you almost feel silly for focusing on what the episode had presented up until that point, after it swept under the rug quicker than a season 13 opening act. It doesn't work. This episode literally pulls the audience from left to right in such rapid and jarring successions that you'll have whiplash by the 14-minute mark. It could really be looked into as a case study for how not to construct and execute this type of story. So, why do I like it so much? I love this episode. I put it at number 8 on my list. I thought it was going to be ripped to shreds. I wanted to put it higher, but I felt that it would be my own personal bias. But then people commented saying that they recall it being middle of the road at worst. That presented a bigger issue. People weren't with me because they liked the episode, but simply the episode had seemingly been inoffensive or just hadn't made a lasting impression to the point that many just thought it was middle of the road. To me, that very idea kills what this episode means to me, and why this video now exists. Because you can hate the episode for all the things it technically gets wrong, or like me, you can love it for the tonally corrupt chaos that it is. But one thing that this episode isn't is okay or middle of the road. This episode takes too many risks that all backfire for it to be considered middle of the road. You can look at it objectively for the Homer's Assembled barbecue attempt that it is, or you can raise that tinted box cover and look at it for not what it tried to be, or wanted to be, but to embrace it for the chaotic mess that it is. And for me, that makes this pile of junk look like this well-assembled, ready-to-fire barbecue. It is a mess, but at the same time, I adore it for what it is. I love being able to watch an episode like this, where it feels like every time a decision is made, the opposite one to the correct decision is made. Because in a weird way, this episode is beautiful to me. I love that I can say to people, "Ah yeah, in one episode, Homer straps a rock to himself and goes to throw himself off a bridge because he lost his job." And they will then reply, "You mean the job Homer skips on a regular basis?" And I'll go, "Yes, that job, but don't worry, he saves his family from a moving car and notices a stop sign and he's A-okay." Again, it happened last time. I keep trying to say what I like about this episode, and again I've just stated more things that it does wrong. And that's why I'm obsessed with it. I don't know why I like it. I shouldn't like it. But I don't like it. I love it. I love this episode. And I think one of the reasons that I love it is it's the first time I can't even fully explain or figure out why I love it. It's just unique. It's like a creepypasta episode that got glitched into being a part of the show's canon. I'd be remiss, however, if I didn't talk about one scene that I think the episode does rather well. I enjoy the final confrontation with Mr. Burns that the episode could have easily written as a paint-by-numbers formality to get to its conclusion. Is actually surprisingly well done. He actually presents a challenge for Mr. Burns in this scene, and Burns is quick to realise that Homer isn't going to be easily intimidated or cheated out of a resolution that he feels is just. I'm not saying the episode achieves this triumphant victory, as Homer's accepting of a new position at the power plant as its safety inspector doesn't eliminate the problem, but it's an outcome that shows Homer is dedicated to change, and isn't abandoning his overarching goal, which has always been at its forefront improving the safety of Springfield. And at the moment, this avenue presents itself as the most accessible route for change. Homer seemingly forgets all of this in subsequent episodes and in fact causes more harm than good in his position as safety inspector, but hey, for now, this Homer, this boy right here, he wants to do good. And you know what? I'm happy we got to meet him. Look, I can make flawed or contrived analogies all day about this episode, but the main takeaway I want you to get from this is, if you don't remember the episode, watch it. If you remember this episode, watch it. If you definitely remember every detail of this episode to the point where you can quote it, wanna grab a whiskey? Before I go, I will leave you with this. The subject of suicide is always going to be tricky to convey, and in 1990 I can forgive an episode for not executing it in a fitting way. But the bone I will throw this episode is no show has ever gone about this subject matter in this way before or since. Ever. There is only one Homer's Odyssey, and I just think that's neat. Thank you all for watching, and if you liked what you see, feel free to click the subscribe button. That's right, I say that now. Also, feel free to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, or drop me a like on my new Facebook page before it gets zucked for reasons out of my control or understanding. Goodbye, and I'll see you at some point.